Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about again today, so let's jump straight into it. I don't usually talk about analysts much because I do think that is very much not an established science, but I have noticed a strong consensus around predictions in the same direction lately, so I figured why not read this one article together and then let's talk about it for a moment. We have a bunch of analysts all suggesting we will test 5,000 soon if this continues with Bitcoin. And of course, after we reach 5,000, it's only up from there. Let's take a look at this article. Bitcoin has experienced a relatively volatile week, trading between lows of $3,550 and highs of $3,750. This choppy trading has given analysts more guidance as to what trading range Bitcoin is currently caught in, which also signals where the cryptocurrency may be heading in the near future. One analyst now believes that Bitcoin's ability to maintain above the $3,500 region is allowing it to gear up for an upwards move towards $5,000. In the long term, analysts have expressed that Bitcoin is likely caught in a relatively large trading range between $3,000 and $5,000. Within this, Bitcoin's recent price action signals that it is likely caught in a much tighter trading range between $3,550 and $4,200. Marty Greenspan, the senior market analyst at eToro, discussed the cryptocurrency's new trading ranges in a market update from earlier this month, saying, "As we've been discussing since mid-November, the current range is from $3,000 to $5,000. It seems now that Bitcoin has opened a new mini-range within that, from $3,550 to approximately $4,200. Movements within a range can sometimes be sudden like we saw yesterday, but unless there's a breakout of the key levels, there really isn't much to write home about." While speaking to Forbes, John Pearlstone, the publisher of the Crypto Patterns newsletter, said that as long as bulls are able to maintain the $3,500 region as a level of support, Bitcoin could surge to $5,000 as a result of an inverse head and shoulders pattern that has been forming since November of 2018. Since mid-November, Bitcoin has built a clearly defined bullish inverse head and shoulders pattern with a target in the $5,000 range. The most recent move back down to retest key support at $3,500 was expected as part of this pattern, and the current consolidation continues to offer an edge for the bulls as long as support holds above $3,500. And we don't really need the rest of this article, it just goes into Bitcoin's volatility decreasing over time, which is something that most of us are probably aware of. But as much as I don't think that that market analysis, especially in such a young, immature market, is anything like a precise science, I do think we have something to learn from people who are taking close looks at the market movements like this. And one thing that I keep hearing from a bunch of different analysts, independently, they don't seem to be parroting each other. They seem to all have come to this result by their own metrics, is that we have a key support somewhere around $3,500, and that as long as we can remain above that for a while, the path seems to be clear to retest 5,000, and then once 5,000 is crossed, to just go ahead and go much, much higher as a result, because that is where a big mental block is for a lot of people. The one thing that I see over and over again is this idea that as long as we don't fall under 3,500, it looks likely for us to claw our way back to 5,000, which might take a while, but we are supposedly getting there. And that is the level where a lot of people think the price could then break out in a major way, get back into the 5 digits, maybe even cross 15,000 again and reach for an all-time high. Now, like I said, analysis always needs to be taken with a grain of salt. History does not repeat itself, it only rhymes. So we can gain some insight from looking at previous movements, from looking at how markets have moved previously to suggest where they might be going based on current conditions, but never take these as gospel. Still, we have very good evidence to make us believe that this is the direction the market is going. And then of course we have some major things coming up in the next couple months that could very well be a catalyst that push the price up. I still believe that backed when it does launch, probably late in February or early in March, could very well jumpstart a new bull run. I still believe we have very good reason to believe that Q1 of 2019 might see us embark in a new bull run. Until then, we just need to have patience. We all know the potential all of these cryptocurrencies have in the long term. And I'm not even specifically talking about Bitcoin here. I just think that Bitcoin is the price that people most often focus on because Bitcoin tends to drag everything else along. And I'm sorry if you can hear the construction in the background. It's been going on for weeks and it's going on from morning to evening. There's nothing I can do about it, so I hope you guys can't hear it. But we know the potential crypto has. We know how much institutional interest there is, how much bank interest there is, how much more mainstream interest there is. All of that is only increasing. So at some point we will reach a turning point where the price will just explode. And the only question is when, because that is what we are moving towards. And that is why I'm not worried. I'm just as annoyed at this bear market as all of you are. I understand having a lot of money tied up in it and getting impatient, but just try to be more patient. Because we are getting back up. The only question is when. Let's briefly talk Constantinople. We just talked about how the hard fork has been delayed the other day. Now we have more of an idea of the time frame it is being delayed to. Earlier this week, the Ethereum Foundation announced that the key stakeholders of the community have decided to postpone the Constantinople hard fork because of the discovery of a security attack of the smart contracts after the hard fork. This announcement was made hours before the network upgrade, resulting in the Parity and Geth team releasing an emergency upgrade to avoid reverting the upgrade. The foundation stated that all node operators, miners and exchanges were required to upgrade to the new version or downgrade to the previous version. This announcement was rather an unexpected one by the community, as the Rinkeby testnet, which took place on January 9th, was stated to be successful, unlike the Dopson testnet, which resulted in a three-way fork. If you remember the Dopson testnet, I believe that was in late November, and that resulted in the delays until mid-January for Constantinople, and of course it has once again been delayed. This time, the vulnerability was detected by Chain Security, wherein the team revealed that the smart contracts are vulnerable only after the Constantinople hard fork and not before. The upgrade of the network would enable re-entrancy attacks, which is currently not possible because of the high gas limit. However, it would be possible after the upgrade because EIP 1283, that is Ethereum Improvement Proposal I believe, proposes the reduction of gas required for S-store operations. Essentially what it proposes is that you can do storage operations for a lot less gas, and gas is of course what you pay for operations for on the Ethereum network. So essentially it is making it more efficient. The delay in the fork has also resulted in some of the members of the community appreciating the quick measure taken by the foundation members to avoid the fork within a short span, whereas others were either unhappy about the fact that the team took notice of the vulnerability hours before the upgrade, or concluded that the community was centralized. This last bit is ridiculous in my opinion. If you find a critical vulnerability in an upcoming upgrade, you need to be able to cancel that short term. So this is not a sign of dangerous centralization. This is a sign of healthy centralization. Centralization by itself is not evil or good. Centralization is simply one metric, one way of organizing a system, and in some ways it can be appropriate and in some ways it can be inappropriate. In this particular instance, being centralized enough that you can stop this upgrade is very much a good thing. People's money was at stake. To add on, if it weren't for the re-entrancy attack, the upgrade would have taken place earlier today on block 7,080,000. At present, the details pertaining to the next schedule of the hard fork and the block it would occur on would be decided during the next Ethereum Dev Core meeting, which would be taking place towards the end of the week. Generally those take place on Fridays, so today. There is speculation related to the hard fork doing its rounds in the market. Some in the community believe that the hard fork would be taking place on January 21st, on Monday. However, one of the core developers of Ethereum, Afro Shurden, has stated that the next hard fork would take much longer time. He said on Twitter, "It's not happening on Monday. I don't know who was seeding this. It's more like 2 to 6 weeks." And honestly, it seems pretty ridiculous to assume that it would only be delayed by 4 or 5 days to January 21st. Once you find a major security issue like that, you need to A, get rid of it, then you need to do a lot of testing, you need to check if any other issues were caused by fixing this issue. None of that will happen in a couple days. If they're only meeting today on the 18th to even decide, they will not They will not be able to fix this issue and pump out a new version of the upgrade and get everything ready for the new version of the upgrade to go live by Monday. That is, of course, completely crazy. And I'm a bit worried that a lot of people seem to have fallen for this kind of, well, it's very much fake news. Someone was just putting that number out there. That doesn't make sense. You have to keep in mind these are complex products and projects. There's a lot of money involved and there are a lot of people involved, and they really try to be conscious of making everything happen in a safe way, in a secure way, of really making sure the issues are ironed out. 2 to 6 weeks, that sounds a lot more realistic. Honestly, I would be shocked if it happened in 2 weeks. It's probably more like 4 to 6 weeks. But the important thing here is that despite these continuous issues with Constantinople, so far major problems have been caught in time to prevent them from going live on the network, and that is ultimately what is important here. I'm all for a lot of delays if that means we get a safe project. We get a safe upgrade that doesn't put people's money at risk. And mostly, I think Ethereum has been dealing with this well. Now let's talk adoption for a moment. BitPay for the second year in a row has processed over $1 billion in crypto payments. This is big. This is big. US-based crypto payments processor BitPay says it processed over $1 billion worth of transactions last year. Announcing the news on Wednesday, the firm said this is the second consecutive time it's reached the $1 billion mark in its over 7 years of existence. And here's a quote: "To process over $1 billion for a second year in a row despite Bitcoin's large price drop shows that Bitcoin is being used to solve real pain points around the world," said Stephen Pear, BitPay co-founder and CEO. I'm not quite sure I agree with his assessment here. To me, this is just saying that a lot of people are interested in investing in it. That is very different from implying that it is having a real-world use case and effect. But both equally good for Bitcoin. Giving further highlights of the past year, the firm said its business-to-business venture saw revenue growth of about 255% year-on-year as new clients, including law firms, data center providers, and IT vendors signed up to accept crypto payments. Once again, this is the important part. This is the mainstreaming of crypto. Notable new customers added in 2018 included subscription TV provider Dish Networks, online organization of security experts HackerOne, and the US state of Ohio, which became the first state in the nation to allow taxes to be paid in Bitcoin back in November. I assume most of you have probably been keeping up with the Ohio story, or if you've been watching this channel, you've heard about it from me. They are allowing some corporate taxes to be paid in Bitcoin, and they are planning to soon allow all taxes to be paid in Bitcoin and to possibly accept other cryptocurrencies in the future as well. This is a first step, and if more US states start adopting this, it could have a very big ripple effect on the entire crypto space. The firm also added settlement support for Bitcoin Cash and stablecoins from Circle, Gemini, and Paxos, while its focus still remains on Bitcoin, according to the announcement. Bitcoin has the network effect around the world, and we are still extremely bullish on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ecosystem, said BitPay head of product Sean Rowland. During the year, BitPay also raised $40 million in a Series B round, bringing its total capital raised so far to over $70 million. Another very notable point here that, despite that extended bear market, investors are clearly willing to push a lot of money into the crypto space, into building up this infrastructure. That means all of those are expecting the space to just grow exponentially in the future. They wouldn't be pushing this money into a dying market. As much as people want to tell you crypto is not a dying market, we are going through a slump, but we will come out of it stronger than ever before. And last but not least, let's briefly talk about TRC10 tokens, because in a first, they are now available on an exchange. 2 days ago, the team at ABCC Exchange announced that they would be partnering with the TRON Foundation to list TRC10 tokens on the platform. The tweet below making the announcement was also a few days before the NitTron summit that starts today. And that today was yesterday. We are excited to announce our partnership with TRON Foundation ahead of NitTron 2019. Just in Sun, ABCC is the first exchange that will list TRX10 tokens. We are one of the top exchanges with great security and user interface. Stay tuned. I feel like if you have to say that about yourself, you might not be one of the top exchanges, but you know, let's continue. Blockchain mass adoption is coming. I can agree with that part. The TRON TRC10 tokens are considered as being the simplest to create without much computer programming knowledge. They work without the TRON virtual machine and can be created easily by logging into tronscan.org. TRC10 transactions incur no fees due to their limited use of bandwidth on the network. In the case of TRC20 tokens, their creation necessitates an understanding of the workings of smart contracts and the TRON virtual machine that executes them. These tokens consume bandwidth and energy per transaction. So a lot of people don't know that. There are two major forms of tokens you can build on top of TRON. TRC10 tokens, which are a lot easier to create and which really give access to people who might not be expert coders, and then TRC20 tokens that have a lot more opportunities, that have a lot more complexities, and most of the tokens you have heard about run on top of TRON are probably TRC20 tokens. And we don't really need the rest of this article. The bottom line here is that I believe this is the first time that an exchange is making TRC10 tokens available, which might be an important step in making those more mainstream in the future. Of course, no project built on a TRC10 token can really take off until those tokens are available easily on exchanges, and this is a first step in that direction. And we're seeing a lot of, I'm very happy with all the new listings we're seeing the last couple of weeks. Exchanges are really using this time where there's not as much attention being paid to the prices, where there's not as much happening in the markets, to really expand their offerings, to make a lot more projects available. And all of this will come in incredibly handy once the next bull run does take off. Because you always get people asking, where can I buy this, where can I buy this, where can I buy this? A lot of people want to buy but don't know how or where. And exchanges are really doing a good job at making more and more tokens, including more obscure tokens, easily available. And I'm always a fan of that. The more options we have, the better. And with that, I'm going to end the video. I hope you guys got from this just how hopeful I am about the future of the markets, because I think we really need that hope right now. And it might not look that great at the moment, but there is so much being set up for the future, and I really try to emphasize this on the channel. Anyways, thanks for watching. All the links to the articles will be in the description as always. In the description you will also find links to my Twitter and Facebook pages if you want to follow me on either of those, as well as ways to support the channel. And if you enjoy my content, I would really appreciate if you could just leave likes and comments. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be back with another video probably later today.